present. Mobile phones on silent. अगर दो login है in the same room, then just एक वाला mute कर देना. And when you're going to log in, please अपना video on कर देना. And also अपना question answer session है, तब all the speakers and the moderators please switch on video so that we can take you on the screen. The switching video.
Ma'am, can we go live?
And just one thing, when we are switching from one speaker to another speaker, take a 10-second pause.
Okay.
Okay. Poonam,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, live.
Respected Professor Dr. Nuzhat Hussain, Director Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow.
Poonam, I think Med is not yet joined.
Ma'am, I have told her now it's live. We should not we should start with it.
Yeah, we'll.
I'm there, Vanisha.
You're there, ma'am? Okay, okay, thanks.
Hello, I'm starting again. Respected Prof. Dr. Nuzhat Hussain, Madam, Director Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow. Professor Dr. Anjali Karolia, Dean, Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, Maharaja Ji Sayajirao University, Baroda. Professor Dr. Meenakshi Mehan, Head, Department of Food and Nutrition, President, MSU-FNAA, MS University, Baroda. Professor Dr. Vanisha Nambiar, Vice President, MSU-FNAA, MS University, Baroda. Eminent speakers of this symposium, team from Signutra, organizing team members, media person, and our virtual platform esteemed guests. On behalf of National Virtual Symposium team, I extend my warm welcome to all of you. We are here to celebrate our National Nutrition Month, and this symposium, entitled Indian Food Anthropology, a cross-cultural empowerment symposium for medical practitioners, is the need of the hour. Our vision is to design Bharat ki Ahar Thali by bringing our regional cuisines on front stage. Now I request Professor Dr. Vanisha Nambiar, Madam, to further enlighten us on the topic. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Poonam, for the welcome. Can you all see my screen?
We can. Please full screen.
Yes, Manisha, we can see it. Yeah.
So wish you all a very happy National Nutrition Month celebrations. And today's webinar title is Indian Food Anthropology, a cross-cultural empowerment symposium for health practitioner. And we have a full day symposium starting from now till 5:30. This symposium is in association with Department of Dietetics, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences, Gomti, Nagar, Lucknow, and the Department of Foods and Nutrition and its alumni at the Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, is extremely thankful to Signutra, USA, who has collaborated with us as an education initiative. So this program is a part of the Eat Right movement and a part of Be Vocal and Go Local. And I'm extremely thankful to our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Parimal Vyas, our Dean of Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, Professor Anjali Karolia, Professor Nuzhat Hussain, Director of the Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow, and Professor Meenakshi Mehan, Head, Department of Foods and Nutrition, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, and the webinar chairperson for being present here today, along with our all esteemed speakers. My thanks to our webinar convener, Ms. Poonam, for facilitating the entire symposium. Now, why have we actually organizing this symposium? Let's understand the theme. Food sustains us, it connects us to one another and has been described as a medium of communication, and its significance stretches far beyond mere nutrition and sustenance. The anthropology of food has a rich history and food has been instrumental in human evolution and the development of culture and society. Consuming various foods may represent shared identities, political divisions, and health imperatives. Currently, malnourishment and other disordered eating patterns are manifestation of the imbalances in global food production and distribution system. The global food crisis has the potential to have a tremendous impact on the physical, mental, social, and economic well-being of populations around the world. Hence, there is a need felt to understand the forces underlying the nutrition crisis, wherein anthropology of food comes into picture. Anthropologists can highlight ways in which political and economic contexts of food insecurity are experienced locally, culturally, in communities and households, and thus leading to a more holistic understanding of the consequences. With growing criticism about corporate biotechnological approaches of dealing with food crisis, the traditional, natural, and grassroots local foods initiative can now be considered as sustainable and offer a promise for the future. There is a need to recognize and popularize the nutritional importance of traditional foods. Traditional food products are socially, culturally, and economically more important and can play a role in ensuring food security and hold a tremendous potential in combating malnutrition to a significant extent. It is thus essential that the knowledge of the production is not lost. The wealth of knowledge and traditional products need to be further expanded in collaboration with small-scale food processors. The importance of our cultural foods have also been endorsed by the Food Safety Standard Authority of India by organizing the symposium way back in August 2011. And India, being a diverse nature with many different cultures, have lots to offer and lots to learn. Cuisine differs across India's diverse regions as a result of variation in local culture, geographical location, proximity to sea, desert, or mountains, and economics. It varies seasonally depending on which fruits and vegetables are ripe. There are also many local foods and crops and traditional cuisines in India which are unknown to the world. They need to be documented and they need to be promoted for good health and well-being, and can be a part of our dietary guidelines and the Eat Right movement. Thus, it is time to be vocal and go local. A range of pressures, including rapid population growth, urbanization, growing wealth, and consequent changes in the consumption patterns are challenging our food systems. They are challenging our ability to provide nutritious food. They are challenging our contribution to enhance livelihood opportunities. And we have to improve them to include all these foods in a sustainable way so that with changing food systems, we can have a changed health system also. A sustainable food system is one which delivers food security and nutrition for all in such a way that the economic, social, and environmental basis can be generated to have food security and nutrition security for all. COVID-19 pandemic has made us realize the value of local, traditional, and unprocessed foods again. Understanding the anthropology of food can offer a variety to explore historically and culturally viable food ways, from foraging to industrial agriculture, which in turn can enable better diet counseling and public health management. India, being a land of diverse religions and culture, have varied physiographic regions ranging from the Himalayan mountains, peninsular plateau, and Ghats, Indo-Gangetic plains, coastal plains, Thar deserts, and islands. These variations in temperature and humidity have led to varied vegetation in each region of India, which is deeply associated with their food habits and culture. So, Indian food culture, which is also being deeply associated by various colonial rulers, need to be promoted, documented, and included extensively in our diet plans. The recent Global Nutrition Report 2020 has also emphasized that The simple act of eating is at the crossroads of challenges, from climate change to urbanization, from imminent epidemic of diabetes to inequalities on a global scale, from a future of agriculture to the rise of obesity. It is thus time to act. And dietetics and nutrition teaching has to be relooked in, and the term food needs to be understood in terms of ethnographic context. Research is needed in terms of commensality and origin of disease. Food as a form of differentiation. Food's role in industrialization and globalizing labor, and understanding food commodity chains is the need of the hour. For improving health system, it is important to understand the food systems, which has to be included in our textbook, and the food systems start from farm to fork. So the objectives of the symposium are to understand food anthropology, history of Indian regional foods and traditional diets, to learn about the ethnographic influence of regional traditional practices on food consumption patterns and food and nutrition security of the population, to enhance the knowledge of practicing dietitians and nutritionists about regional foods, to enable them to plan diversified, culturally acceptable diets, and later to purport a supporting document highlighting the dietary diversity of traditional foods for formulating national nutrition guidelines. We have so many participants in this webinar right now, and I welcome all the participants from the dietetics and nutrition fraternity, from the public health fraternity. Many of them are from medical health field. I welcome all the students and research scholars who have joined today. We have 3 scientific sessions here. The first session will be chaired by Professor Meenakshi and moderated by me. And we have 5 eminent speakers for the session. Professor Shubha, Dr. Meenal Dhal, Ms. Anuja Agrawala, Ms. Amita Singh, and Dr. Archana Sarkar. The second scientific session will have Dr. Madhu Nagla, Dr. Madhubala Singh, Ms. Mansi Devanji, Dipali Fargare, Dr. Vasanta Kohli, and Shiny Surendran. And the third scientific session will be post-lunch. We'll have Dr. Anuja Thomas, Chaynika Sarma, Dr. Chitra Pitasa, Dr. Janki, Poonam Tiwari, and Apnita Thakuria. So here is our cultural treat to all the participants, a combination of very 2 old cultures of our country, cultural heritage of Vadodara city and heritage of Lucknow city, is here to present to you about Indian food anthropology. And I'm very happy to collaborate with Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow. I means the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, Faculty of Family and Community Science, Department of Foods and Nutrition. So happy National Nutrition Month to all. And I now request Poonam to carry out further deliberations of the webinar. Thank you so much.
Hello. Thank you, ma'am, for giving such a wonderful introduction about our whole symposium, our vision and mission. Thank you very much. Now I request the main pillar behind me, Professor Nuzhat Hussain, madam, to say our opening remarks and bless us this occasion and our symposium. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Poonam. A very warm welcome to all the guests on this very important seminar today. Dr. Vanisha, Nagar, Professor Parimal Vyas, Professor Meenakshi Mehan, and all the esteemed speakers who have joined us today. And more importantly, I think the audience, because you are there, that is why the speakers and the entire symposium is there. So a very warm welcome to all of you. It is indeed a pleasure for the Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences to be a part of this really important and I think a very interesting symposium, because when Poonam told me it's about food anthropology, I was like, we always just think of food, and then anthropology about food actually got me thinking. And we could actually look at it like an evolution of the Indian platter. and how it must have changed from the times when people just got a limited amount of stuff on their platter to today, when we are getting a lot of mixture of food, and Western culture has also come in. And all of us have children in the house who are just not satisfied with having their normal dal roti, and they want the other stuff on the platter as well. So I think somewhere along the line, we have to look. Second thing is that I feel there's so much variety in India itself, because when you look across, we are using all different cooking oil mediums. We are all using different types of lentils. We are using different types of fiber all over. So maybe just not just looking at individual evolutions and sticking to them in those regional areas. India should also think in terms of fusing their diets across states, and maybe looking at more nutritional stuff, more healthy stuff in different platters, and fusing it up to make it better for our patients, because at the end point we have our patients. And to talk about today, this is COVID times, and we all know that we don't have very specific drugs for COVIDs. And so we really need, what we are giving them mainly is a good dietary support, which would help their bodies heal and fight against the virus. So I think the talk today should also, I'm sure you might have it, but you might want to focus on what is there on the evolution of the Indian platter, which can actually help in COVID times. We have used the kada, we've used the turmeric, we've used things which we feel might help the immunity, boost up the immunity. So that's also an important point for discussion as of today, and how we can encourage that to happen with our, with the newer generation. And these kind of, I think, studies and popularization of these studies of food anthropology might, arise interest in our youngsters too, and make them walk along the path of good, healthy Indian food, and also might want, help us popularize this food all over the world. Because when you go out, I agree, we are all happy that we have those, a cluster of Indian restaurants, but it's really not as big as you have those huge waves of Chinese food followed by Southeast Asian or Middle Eastern. So maybe we really need to work on our food to make it more popular worldwide as well. So thank you very much for asking me to say hello to all of you today. And my pleasure indeed to be on this, both as the institute head as well as a part of the institute, being a part of your symposium. So three best today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Professor Nuzhat Hussain, ma'am. You had always been a support to Dietetics department, and indeed, whatever you have told and the message what you have given to me, I'll definitely follow, learn new things, and incorporate in our hospital diet. Thank you, ma'am. Now, coming to the other eminent speaker of our symposium, our opening remarks by Professor Anjali Karolia, ma'am, Dean, Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, Maharaja Sayajirao of University of Baroda, Gujarat. Ma'am, I request you to enlighten us and give your opening remarks.
I think ma'am is not able to join, so you can ask Meenakshi ma'am to talk.
Right. I now request Professor Meenakshi Mehan ma'am, Head Department of Foods and Nutrition, Maharaja Ji Sayajirao, University of Baroda, to give her valuable inputs on this inaugural session.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences, for collaborating with us and putting up a fantastic program. And I also welcome all the panelists to the session and all the participants who have joined with us. Now, if we look at just very recently, Man Ki Baat of Prime Minister, he had talked about diversity, he had talked about different diets, he had talked about local diets, and he had also talked a very important thing, that we should form a Krishi Kosh. That means we should have a repository of what kind of grains, what kind of food diverse groups are produced at every local level, at district level, he had said. So I think that is a very big and a very good beginning. And I'm very sure that this course that we are, not a course actually, the whole day webinar that we are talking about, we are talking across the entire nation about the diets. and the kind of cuisines that are available. So a lot of work, would be done at the end of the day. What we have to do is that how do we incorporate, as Madam Nusrat had also said, to take up the best elements of each cuisine and make it into a healthy and acceptable and nutritious diet. So I won't take more time because the day is long. So I thank everyone, and I request Poonam to take over.
Vanisha ma'am, can you please confirm if Professor Anjali Karolia ma'am has joined us, so I can hand over to her?
I can't see her, so maybe she's not able to connect. Yeah.
Fine, ma'am. So further moving ahead, on behalf of National Virtual Symposium team, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Nusrat Hussain, Director Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Institute of Medical Sciences, Professor Dr. Anjali Karolia, Dean, Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, MS University, Baroda, Professor Dr. Meenakshi Mehan, Head Department of Foods and Nutrition, MS University, Baroda, for accepting our invite and for giving their valuable time in spite of their busy schedules. Thank you very much. I extend my thanks to our distinguished experts and speakers across country who accepted our request to present their views on this very important topic. I'm thankful to Dr. Chetan, Mr. Ishan, Mr. Shashank, Niteshji from Signutra team for providing their valuable support. Technical team of 3 chairs even, Mrs. Rishita for helping us with technical issues. I'm thankful to my team of dietitians, Ms. Aishwarya Srivastav, Ms. Shreya Chaube, Ms. Rubia Firdaus for standing beside me every time when I needed them. Our media friends, I'm thankful to you for accepting our invite. Last but not the least, my heartfelt gratitude for Professor Dr. Vanisha Nambiar ma'am for giving my idea a proper concrete shape. She is the backbone of this symposium. She has taken efforts to make this event perfect and successful in every aspect. Thank you, ma'am, for nurturing my baby.
Always welcome.
Esteemed guests and participants, our country is a land of rich diversities, culture, and traditions, and that perpetuates in our food habits even. Still, whenever required, be it at international platforms, our borders, during this pandemic time, we always showcased ourselves as Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. Through this symposium, we have tried not only to go back to our roots of our traditional food culture, but also lessen the divide of India and Bharat. This divide is really becoming a major setback between prosperous India and Pichhda Bharat. From the perspective of clinical dietitians, I see this symposium as a wonderful opportunity to learn about our cuisines, our spices, cooking methods, culinary skills, which this need to be emphasized and promoted during our patient counseling. Definitely, this knowledge will enhance and broaden the spectrum of our medical nutrition therapy. I hope you all are going to enjoy this learning session of our Indian food journey. Please accept my sincere apologies if I have missed someone in my expression of gratitude. Once again, I thank you all, and thanks to our special patron and Meenakshi ma'am for giving their valuable time and blessing us for this wonderful day ahead. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you to also for coming up with a collaborative idea that, ma'am, let's do something together. So a big thank you to Poonam for that. And
thank you, ma'am.
More and more collaborations happen between institutes because there's lots to learn, and I look forward to a great academic exchange and a good feast today. And as I'm wearing pink, the reason is I'm wishing all of you pink of health. Let our Indian food be the media, and let's just focus on what is traditional, what is local, and plan healthy diets for all. So thank you, Nusrat ma'am, for sparing your valuable time. A special thanks to you all. If it had been a non-virtual webinar, maybe all of you would have come to Baroda, or we would have come to Lucknow. And but just look at the best part of the pandemic, that we are sitting here and at the click of the computer, we are able to see everyone in one screen. And with that note, I request all the panelists to please switch on their videos so that we have one screenshot together. Please switch on your videos. And Nusrat ma'am, let me introduce you to our panelists who are going to be there, who are right now with us. So we have Dr. Meenal Dhal from Delhi. We have Dr. Archana Sarkar. She's the country manager for GIZ. We have Professor Shubhda Kanani from Parul University, Vadodara. We have Anuj Agrawal from AIMS Delhi. She's a pediatric nutritionist. We have Mansi Divanji from MS University. We have Madhubala Singh from Jodhpur, DMRC, and we have Amita Singh ma'am from Bhopal. We have Deepali Fargare ma'am right now with us from Maharashtra. We have Chitra Arpita Saha from Kolkata. And we have Abnita Thakuria from Assam. And our digital partners, Rishita and Signutra, who have been very kind to host this webinar, are also with us. So,
wonderful. I think you have a really good conundrum of wonderful people there. And it's entirely a female-dominated area, I see. So it's wonderful. It's really wonderful to see all of you doing so well. So all the very best for the webinar today. And have a great learning session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Pleasure
And
you all.
Thank
And
you.
I hope we'll visit you at Baroda sometime. Yeah.
Definitely,
sure, most
And
welcome.
welcome to
ma'am,
Lucknow. Poonam, you must once this is over.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. Definitely.
So great pleasure.
Have a great
I think
day.
we are.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we are on time, dot on time. And with this, Poonam, we will start our first scientific session. And if Nusrat ma'am can stay with us for the session and listen to one of the first speakers, we'll be really honored. So I request the chairperson of this session number 1, Professor Meenakshi Mehan, to take over the session. And our first speaker for session number 1 is Professor Shubhda Kanani.
Good morning once again. I welcome our colleague, a friend who was also working in our department as Professor Shubhda Kanani, to this forum. And I must admit that the term food anthropology and why it is important to study food anthropology was actually initiated by her.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being there, Shubhda.
Thank you. Thank you, Meenakshi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. Shall I begin?
Yes.
1 minute, I'll just share the screen with your profile. Can you see my screen?
Yes. But full screen kar do.
Haan, ma'am, 1 minute. Ma'am, you can introduce Shubhda ma'am formally.
All right. So as I said, it's a real pleasure to have Shubhda with us. She is a PhD in foods and nutrition from our own department. She has worked in our, she hasn't put that, she has worked in our university for, I think, more than 20 years. She has a professional expertise in public health nutrition, mothers, infants, young children, adolescents. She does a lot of mixed method research, that is blending quantitative and qualitative and participatory studies, school nutrition health programs, nutrition health education and communication. Is a big advocate for that. And then gender sensitive health nutrition initiatives with focus on girl child, women, dietary and lifestyle behavior change for health promotion, how it is to be done and what is to be done. She has 25 journal papers, 18 scientific reports, 6 chapters in books, and presented in, I think, innumerable 50 plus papers in international, national and regional conferences. She has been a recipient of Junior and Senior Young Scientist Award from Nutrition Society of India, Outstanding Young Person Award from JC's, Ford Foundation Fellowship, and the International Center for Research on Women. I am very, very pleased to have her on board with us And now I request Professor Shubhda Kanani to take on the session.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you very much. I'm really delighted to be here. Can you all see me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You can share your screen now.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm really very happy to be here and to be invited by my alma mater, the Department of Foods and Nutrition in MS University, where I spent almost 3 decades of my career. The first decade as a student, MSc and PhD, and then more than 24 years teaching and doing research. And it is here that my interest in food and nutrition anthropology was born. And with the teammates in the department, we were able to introduce several courses in nutrition anthropology, as well as integrate various types of research tools, which I'll be talking about in a moment. So thank you again. I will switch to slide mode. Yes. So let me begin with the mission of universities. Through education to contribute to human resource development, advance knowledge through research, provide services through community-based programs. And particularly if we talk of community-based nutrition, the research that we do there with the community members enhances their awareness, facilitates problem analysis, and helps to implement solution along with them. That is the real idea.
Ma'am, we cannot see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
No, ma'am.
Oh, 1 minute. Sorry.
Share screen, Shubhda, niche.
Yes, I did that, but somehow. Can you see now?
Yeah, I think it's coming now. Yeah.
Thanks, Vanisha, for pointing this out. It mustn't have clicked properly.
Ma'am, then you can make full screen.
Yes.
Right पे जाओ थोड़ा.
ठीक है? Is it okay?
मैम फुल स्क्रीन करिए, नीचे जाके वो कप आइकन को क्लिक करो या do F5.
Okay, yeah, okay, that I'll do. Yeah, sure. Okay. Can everybody see now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for this. Yeah, so the opening batsmen sometimes have problems. The mission of universities, as I was saying, is basically to contribute to human resource development through student training and research, to advance knowledge through research, and provide services through community-based programs. And in the context of nutrition, we work with communities to enhance their awareness, facilitate problem analysis, and implement solutions along with them. So I thought, appropriate opening lines for this webinar would be what I had written in a monograph we published as a part of the DSA program in 2008 on qualitative research, where I said, listen to the people, understand what they say, do not think you have all the answers, let them show you the way. So that's what we are trying to do with nutrition anthropology, but it was not the case in the 90s and even earlier, where I remember when we began this journey of nutrition anthropology and qualitative research, we were almost, at loggerheads with the epidemiologists and statisticians who thought qualitative research was all jalebi and, soft data. Even nutrition and public health professionals and researchers viewed anthropology with its toolbox of qualitative and participatory research as not as scientific valid and also inferior to epidemiological view of nutrition and the quantitative research, large surveys and statistics. But however, fortunately, the stance changed over time and was replaced by a realization on both sides, the epidemiologists and the anthropologists, that particularly nutrition and public health, that both of us need each other. Both are complementary streams and both have strengths and limitations. So shift took place and we started exploring ways of integrating these two perspectives in order to get a holistic view of nutrition and to develop effective community interventions. And this is the reason why we are advocating that we must include nutrition anthropology and qualitative method courses in foods and nutrition departments across the country and even globally. All along the decades, even till today, the biomedical perspective of nutrition has dominated the nutrition scene, where biochemistry, nutrition, physiology, the clinical aspects of nutrition, continue to hold a strong, have a strong hold, and that's fine. Food is treated mainly as a vehicle for energy and nutrients. The focus has been on the determinants of nutritional status and measurements, nutrient requirements, nutrient absorption, utilization, manifestations of nutritional deficiencies, which we know we are teaching through various courses in FN departments. But while that is valuable, our understanding of nutrition remains incomplete and fragmented unless we as nutrition scientists appreciate and learn about and integration the anthropological perspective as well. After all, studying what are the factors which determine which are the foods grown, accessed and eaten, what are cultural food choices is as important as what happens to food once it is swallowed. So let's adopt a holistic view, and for that we need to begin with student training. Humans do not eat nutrients. They choose, and what they choose and eat is governed by their upbringing, social customs and traditions. Food habits are inseparable from culture. Friedman has defined nutrition anthropology as the study of the interrelationships between diet and culture and the influence, mutual influence upon one another. So from the anthropological perspective, nutrition is viewed in the context of complex human and environmental relationships. So where is nutrition anthropology relevant in student training and research? It is relevant in all stages of the food chain, from the farm to the plate. For example, if you look at agriculture and food production, farmers and their families are members of the society in which they live. There are expectations and traditional ways of growing crops which are considered correct. Any new method, even if it is better, is likely to encounter resistance. So agricultural extension workers or nutrition students in the agricultural universities, many agricultural universities have nutrition departments, they will be more effective if they understand the social and cultural background of the farmers they work with. With regard to food accessibility and affordability, the concepts of foods and nutrition security vary a lot between cultures, and we need to understand these perceptions as well. For example, what are the traditional ways to cope up with food insecurity? How does intra-household distribution of food take place? What are the gender issues? Who gets better food first? What are the food purchasing practices among different ethnic groups and cultures? We have done a lot of research over the years on gender and nutrition, where we have studied intra-household distribution of food. And we know that women and adolescent girls are usually the last ones to eat, and this is culturally determined. And one of the reasons for the malnutrition is because they do not have enough of the foods from the food pot in the family. So qualitative and anthropological research can give us an in-depth understanding of what's happening in the family. What is the impact of food market on child feeding patterns? These days, the food market is penetrated even the remotest of rural villages. And now we have a lot of chips and other packets, munchy snacks being given to children instead of wholesome complementary foods. And this is a big area, where we need to blend epidemiology and anthropology. Once food comes to the home, what are the storage and cooking practices? What are the traditional ways? Many of them are beneficial, as our previous speakers have just said. But sadly, these traditional ways are getting eroded, because of Western influence. And as Vanisha rightly said, we need to be strong about we need to be vocal about local. So our interest in household food traditions will help protect these traditional ways of storage and cooking practices. And I'm glad this is the theme of the webinar today. Knowledge of retaining nutrition during cooking alone is not adequate. Our students also need to know what are the cultural and long-standing practices of cooking food. And here again, there'll be a lot of resistance because tradition has a very strong hold on the way foods are cooked. There are rural, tribal, and urban differences. So this is another area where anthropology is very important. If you look at the concept of malnutrition and poor health, we say in anthropology, the etic versus the emic view. I'm sorry, this should be emic. There's a mistake here, EMIC. The cultural view or the community view is very different from the expert view or what we consider ourselves as expert. And this can be in terms of recognition of malnutrition. One reason why women don't take treatment for children who are malnourished is because they think the child is not malnourished. The identification of malnutrition itself is a very cultural concept. The perceived severity of the problem. Anemia is not considered that severe by traditional women. That is why they do not take iron tablets very often. What are the perceived causes and treatments of these problems? And what is the response of the community to government or NGO programs? Are they acceptable? Are they not acceptable? Why? So the cultural and social determinants of nutrition and poor nutrition need to be well understood by nutritionists, and we should begin from teaching this in our departments. Anthropology is equally important in all the life cycle stages: pregnancy, child, and adolescent, even a geriatric age group. Anthropological approaches, ethnography is extremely essential for obtaining a holistic picture of the etiology of malnutrition solutions in different age groups. Just to give a few examples, IYCF practices are rooted in traditional beliefs. Pregnancy and lactation are influenced by culture. There are a lot of food taboos and prohibitions in pregnancy and lactation, especially for lactating women. The gender dimension, what is viewed culturally as men's and fathers' roles, just to give an example. Caregiving behaviors, what is the family support? What is the role of the mother-in-law? In all these things, we need to look at the socio-cultural dimension as well. One strong element and strength of anthropological research is that it highlights the voices of people, which must be understood by nutritionists. Just to give an example, in an adolescent anemia project we did, before and after the weekly iron supplementation program was initiated, we did a lot of qualitative research, anthropological research through focus group discussions and in-depth interviews. And these verbatims highlighted what the girls thought about anemia, the signs and symptoms of anemia, what they feel when they get anemia, why they do not take iron tablets, and after taking the tablets, what are the benefits they experience. So all these things, including the views of teachers, using open-ended approaches really give insights which quantitative tools and structured surveys cannot give. Therefore, we say that we need to have open-ended anthropological approaches as well. So if you look at the two major streams in nutrition courses, public health nutrition and clinical dietetics, nutrition anthropology is important for both. In PHN, anthropological approaches are important to study and learn because they increase the awareness as well as respect. I think this is very important. And this I learned over the decades that I was there in MSU, and I continue to do that today in Padua University as well. Students must learn to respect culture and long held traditions, which they can do when they learn about the culture more and more. And the ways in which people can adopt healthier practices, if they do it in the cultural context, they will be more successful. Rather than opposing tradition, you should go along with tradition and find out ways. They enable nutrition professionals to plan and support culturally relevant and gender sensitive interventions. In the field of dietetics, anthropology is important because they enable dietitians to appreciate beliefs, attitudes, constraints of patients or the clients, and their cultural traditions. If they understand that, they will become more effective counselors and practitioners. So the qualitative tools used in nutrition anthropology are immensely useful in behavior change communication research and to develop nutrition awareness in programs and campaigns. And this is equally applicable to any stream of nutrition. So therefore, it makes a lot of sense to use integrated mixed method approaches so that we get a holistic picture of the problem being investigated. And there are several examples, just a few are given here. What are the barriers and facilitators of breastfeeding and complementary feeding practices? Why is adolescent anemia so rampant, despite the weekly IFA given in schools for so many years now? Why is the ICDS food ration not being consumed by the target beneficiaries? What are the real reasons? What is the role of family support to promote maternal and child health? What are gender issues and the impact of nutrition? I mean, the list can go on. This is just to illustrate why we need to use integrated approaches. And the reasons why interventions are not successful is because there are a lot of mismatches. As Pelto said in 2013, ethnography, which is a way of doing research under anthropology, it draws attention to the mismatch between intervention delivery and how they're perceived and utilized by beneficiaries. And if this mismatch is there, the interventions will not succeed. So if the recipients of the programs have a different socio-cultural framework for responding to these interventions as compared to the program administrators and people like us, there will not be a lot of success and impact seen.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. If you could wrap up.
Yeah, sure. I will do that. Yeah, so this is just to give an example of how we introduce anthropology courses in the Foods and Nutrition Department in MS University. We began both in UG and PG level courses. Initially, some units had nutrition anthropology focus courses like qualitative research in the research methods courses. Later, we were able to introduce full-fledged courses like nutrition anthropology, gender nutrition. Students' dissertation research encouraged mixed method approaches. Guidebooks, manuals, and monographs are written, and staff members started participating in seminars, which helped to disseminate the value of these courses. And these are just two examples of material that I wrote while I was there to help students understand nutrition anthropology better. So I'll just wrap up with 3 steps of the process of integrating nutrition anthropology for those who are interested. And I hope that most of us would be now. The first step is advocacy. People need to be persuaded and convinced that nutrition anthropology and qualitative ways of doing research are important for all disciplines. So these concepts and attitudes should be inculcated early in young minds so that they have openness and flexibility and respect for other viewpoints. The second is to build a critical body of professionals, the leaders, all of us here and many others who are not listening but who would be interested. The winds of change come from above. So senior staff members, heads of departments, policy making and academic bodies may be exposed to the advantages of nutrition anthropology and other influences. Nowadays, I'm happy that the international community and the donor community also considers qualitative and anthropological research as valid as epidemiological research. So this also helps to give a boost. And the last and important is small rather than sweeping changes. We begin small and then gradually institutionalize these courses to board of studies and other mechanisms. So I'll end by saying the important thing is not quantity, how much is taught in how many courses, but how it is taught. And of course, training of teachers, building the body of experts, production and dissemination of resource materials and manuals will help. So let us begin the journey. The path lies before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that very, very interesting and setting up the context for this webinar. As you rightly said, that epidemiology and anthropology go hand in hand. And in epidemiology, we talk about 4 ways of prevention, the primordial, primary, secondary, and then comes the tertiary. So anthropology would be a very, very good tool to understand and do primordial, primary prevention. But at the same time, I would also like to emphasize that when it comes to tertiary care and tertiary prevention, this is where our partner Signutra come into a place. And Signutra offers a diet portfolio of custom-made nutrition solutions, and it aims to fulfill gaps in nutrition that are left by disease, lifestyle, and life stage. So over to you, our chairperson, Pam, to introduce our next speaker. And thank you so much, Shubda ma'am, for that very wonderful presentation. I will now like to share my screen.
Thank you.
And ma'am will again be calling you for the question answer sessions. And we have so many questions in the chat box. You can have a look at them also. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. I've stopped sharing.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next speaker is Dr. Meenakshi. And sorry. And I request our chairperson, Professor Meenakshi Mehan, to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you so much, Vidya, for giving a real setting the context of this webinar. And now I welcome Dr. Meena Dhal, who is Assistant Professor of Anthropology, University of Delhi. She has done her postgraduate diploma in public health nutrition from PHFI in Delhi in 2011. She has been actively working on public health problems, especially obesity, cardiometabolic diseases, nutritional status, physical activity, and its related health outcome among different populations. She has 40 plus international and national publications in this field. She has published 7 books at such a young age with international and Indian publishers. I congratulate her for that. Her areas of interest are physiological anthropology, kinanthropometry, ergonomics, human growth and development, public health and epidemiology, nutrition, and physical activity. So I welcome Meena on this forum and congratulate you for doing such excellent work, I think, at a very young age.
Thank you. Thank you
Over to
very
you.
much. Good morning, one and all, and thank you very much for the introduction. It is my pleasure to be part of this national virtual symposium on Indian food, anthropology. Uh, yeah. A cross-sectional empowerment symposium for health practitioners. Anthropology is basically a holistic subject and is very passionate. One where a layman can connect with it because it tells you about yourself, the society where you live, the culture which you follows. And nutrition is one of the most important field of anthropology. So today I will talk about health and nutrition among various populations of India and anthropological perspective. And as I go through the topics of the eminent speakers of this symposium, they will be discussing the specific region or population's nutrition. And I thought of sharing a general glimpse of nutrition and health in anthropological perspective. So, the nutrition is basically the
Ma'am,
science
we
of.
can't see your screen.
Okay. But I've shared the screen.
Can you stop and do it again, please? Because it may be buffering.
Okay. Now is it fine?
Ma'am, we can't see the screen.
Okay. So can your team share the screen for me?
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's a wrong one. 1 minute. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah. Please go to the second slide. Yeah, so nutrition is the science of food and its relation to health, and nutrition being the basic human right is suggestive to the health and well-being of the individual, since we are what we eat essentially. And with the current increase in lifestyle disorder around the world, it is very important to promote healthy nutrition in all the age groups involved. Improving eating habit is not just an individual but for the whole population. So the health and nutrition are the most important contributory factors for human development, and adequate intake of food and regular nutrition habits are the major contributing factors for the maintenance of general health status. So the good health is essential to nutritional well-being, as good nutrition to crucial for maintaining healthy growth and development. However, with regard to massive changes on socio-economic level, there is a global burden of disease in developing countries because of the coexistence of undernutrition and related deficiency, and infectious disease along with overweight, obesity, or diet-related non-communicable disease as a result of nutritional transition. So the problem is of a particular concern in countries like India that have a transitional economics and changing lifestyle, and these changing lifestyles may compound the increased inherent risk of ethnic groups. Can you please go to slide number 3? The dynamics of economic inequalities, technological interventions, innovations, and selective outreach and globalization has hit every sphere of living and sustenance, of which nutrition is no exemption. Lack of awareness about maintaining sound health with reasonable nutritional behavior leads to adoption of imbalanced dietary practices, and contemporary lifestyle pattern consists of less labor intensive activities, intensified mechanization along with the stress and work pressure, and other such uninterrupted changes in routine activities have impacted on compromised nutrition in all the strata. So food is an essential part of people's life and not just a means of survival. Different cultures have variety of food and ingredients. These food preference results in pattern of food choices within a cultural or regional group. Food has been widely studied in the field of anthropology, sociology, and cultural studies. So please go to slide 4. Calorie count and intake in India, the average per person calorie intake is dropping, as in the case with intake of many nutrients, and more than 75% of Indian population per capita calorie consume as less than 2100 kilocalories in urban areas and 2400 kilocalories in rural areas. So although the incomes and wages have underwent much improvement over the past years, bringing nutritional strengthening, but still could not prevent the offsetting reduction in calorie requirements. So the reason behind which is ascribed to declining levels of physical activity, and possibly also to various improvements in the health environment. The net effect, which has been a gradual reduction in per capita calorie consumption. So the calorie requirement and intake depends upon, please go to the next slide. It depends on the balanced diet, which contain reasonable proportion of fruits, vegetables, fats, and not just cereals, could ensure the required amount of calories. Then physical activity levels play a very important role in this. Clean water, sanitation, and good hygiene practice, vaccination confirming a sound health, then improved epidemiological environment with less exposure to disease and infection. Lifestyle changes have brought about shift into different behavioral practices, such as people increasing choosing away from diet heavy in cereals. Then it is probable that some of these changes have nutritional consequences about which people are not fully informed, like for the consumption of important micronutrients. So these are the very important components in nutritional anthropology. Next slide, please. The Indian community is basically mostly Indo-Aryan and Dravidian in origin. The cultural practices vary in India with geographical region and religion. India can be broadly divided into four major regions, that is North, South, East, and West, and each with its own distinctive language, cultural peculiarities, customs, and food practices. India has a rich and highly varied cuisine, varies from region to region and from season to season. and its various diets are strongly related to religion and other cultural factors, as well as local agricultural practices and availability of diverse food, traditional food choices, usually dependent on the regional practices, preferences. So the Indian traditional diets are of immense variety, and the diversified preparation not only offer the whole range of nutrient but also activate digestion and several physiological functions. So the few year back's preference on natural food was given over refined foods, and light food or less oily over the heavy foods. The traditional meals were mostly plant based with spices and were cooked and eaten fresh at home. They were a combination of cereals, millets, pulses, and spices such as pepper, cumin, coriander, with curd, coconut, which are fulfilling of the energy and protein requirements. And those who could afford used to take milk, yogurt, eggs, chickens, with small quantity of animal meat adding to the protein requirement. So the traditional meals are very important for the good health. The vegetables and fruits contribute to the intake of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants required for the supportive functions. So India has a very rich culinary heritage that has evolved over centuries. Traditional foods give an exquisite vision of India's rich cultural heritage, and traditional food habits across the country are primarily based on the holistic approach of nutrition. However, with rapid urbanization, the eating habits are also rapidly changing and running with the real danger of losing the rich food heritage built with the wisdom of centuries. So, from ultra spicy food to appetizing confectionaries and southern curries flavored with kokum, Indian culinary culture is delicious and diverse. So when you see this North Indian cuisine typically represents food of all the states of North. The dairy products such as paneer, yogurt, butter, and ghee are used extensively. And the North Indian food are chapati, dal, puri, paneer, gravy, aloo, sabji, and whichever you are seeing in your this screen. Next slide, please. When in the South Indian food of Tamil Nadu, famous cuisine of Chitendu is famous for chicken biryani, chicken verula, vellai, paniram, dosa, idli, sambar. And next slide, please. The dietary pattern from the east and south, or northeast and south, were almost are more likely to be defined by meat or fish or non-vegetarian consumption, and diets in the north and west being more similar to one another. So we are as were diets in the east and south. So south and northeast region is primarily a rice eating region, and a variety of dals and vegetables are popular. There are rice. The common aspects are like they have more of chicken and goat meat, which are popular all over the India. So here I want to share that the food is not their choice, but the availability and easy access. If any ethnic group is having non-vegetarian food or vegetarian food, cereals or rice as their staple diet, it is because they have to survive in that particular environment, the environment which they are living in. They have to adapt the food available to them. As an anthropologist, you have to understand the food and its nutrients, basic nutrients of an ethnic group as per the availability of it near to them. So not only in the taste, but also in the way of cooking. Indian foods are totally different from the rest of the world, and Indian foods showcase the perfect mixture of traditional culture and love. It is evolving from ages, and that's why there are different forms of Indian foods. So Indian food are totally different from the rest of the world, and as per the region and state, different kind of Indian foods are available. So the changing nutrition scenario, there is a remarkable shift in the nutritional scenario in India because of the urbanization. And over the past few decades, India has changed remarkably as in the nutrition field. As a matter of course, diets vary and evolve over time, and there were remarkable shifts. The threat of widespread household food insecurity and chronic undernutrition was very real. Poverty and hunger were in abundance, and this resulted in the various malnutrition related epidemic disorders. So then came to the Green Revolution. So shortages of food grains disappeared within less than a decade, and India became self-sufficient in the food grain production. A decade later, in 1970s, the White Revolution by the National Dairy Development Board made milk and other dairy products more easily and widely accessible. And traditionally, the Indian diet uses
Sorry to
less
interrupt.
processed
If you could please wrap up.
ingredient and more natural ingredient than that of the Western countries. And more recently, the influence of Western products and the shift towards highly refined food, meat, dairy products of high level saturated fats have, together with reduced uh, energy expenditure, contribute to rise in incidence of obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and other non-communicable diseases. So you can go to slide 13. Okay, I'll just conclude it because of short of time. So to conclude this topic, I would say that the erosion of the health diet as an outcome of modernization and industrialization has led to the development of dietary supplements and functional foods. Functional foods are those that contain components that affect a limited number of functions in the body in a targeted way, so to have positive effects on health. They could also have a physiological effect that extends beyond the traditional nutritional effect. However, dietary diversification is the best approach as nature knows what is best for mankind. So some of the traditional food items contain functional ingredients which play a major role in the prevention of disease and promotion of health. A holistic approach is needed to promote the concept of healthy nutrition in whole country. So to the availability of nutritious food at low cost could be ensured by policymakers mobilizing community and health education and take home messages. It is very important to understand the trends in diet within the population as well as their relationship with the health outcomes. So anthropologists and nutritionists would work together to solve this problem as we are what we eat. So before thanking you or completing this presentation, I would like to acknowledge the organizers of this symposium. It is a great initiative taken by Department of Food and Nutrition, Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, the Maharaja, Sayajirao University of Baroda, and Department of Dietetics, Dr. Manohar Lohia Institute, to conduct this national symposium on National Nutrition Week. And I would like to thank Ms. Nilofer, Ms. Urmala, Ms. Urvashi, my research scholars from Department of Anthropology for helping me making this presentation. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us this insight and setting up the context about anthropology. And we take your message that nature knows what is best for our body, and we need to be close to nature in order to be healthy. The second take-home message that we can note down is that food habits are basically because of the availability and the geography, and the following subsequent presentations will be focusing on foods of India. And thank you so much, ma'am. And there's so many questions and we'll be taking them up. So please stay with us. We now move on to our next speaker, that is Anuja Agarwala, ma'am. And I request our chairperson to introduce her, Dr. Anuja Agarwala, ma'am, our own alumni. And I'm sharing my screen, if you can see that.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to introduce Anuja, a close friend and someone who's our alumni. We are proud of her, who has been communicating with us on a regular basis. The screen has showing Amita. Yeah.
Sorry.
So Anuja is currently the senior dietitian in pediatrics department of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. She also is a national vice president of Indian Dietetic Association. She has over 30 years of experience in Department of Pediatrics, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. She also holds the fellowship in pediatric nutrition for Birmingham Children's Hospital, UK, certified genetic metabolic dietitian, again from British Dietetic Association, UK, and member of Genetic Metabolic Dietitians International, United States. Her special interests are juvenile diabetes, dietary therapies in epilepsy, nutritional therapies in genetic disorders, and pediatric gastrological disorders, particularly the celiac disease. Well, she's put very few achievements. I'm sure she has much, much more. But her major achievements are scientific panel member and technical advisory committee member of FSSAI since 2008. She partners with FSSAI in Diet for Life initiative to spread awareness about genetic disorders, expert committee member in government projects and panels, e-working group member of Codus Alimentarius, co-authored book on nutrition with chapter in Vanisha. We've gone to another slide. Yeah. Co-authored nutrition chapter in Essentials of Pediatrics, which is now incorporated in textbooks of MBBS students, edited by Dr. V.K. Paul and Dr. Arvind Bagga from 7th, 8th, and 9th editions. She is the original research She has 40 original research publications in national and international journals with high impact factor, involved in many 100 clinical nutrition as well as community-based research projects, and currently also a co-investigator in guiding the thesis of DM students, MD students, nursing, and dietetics students. So over to you, Anuja. We look forward to a very
No problem. I will share the screen.
Good session from you because of your experience. Anuja.
So Anuja ma'am just called up. She's rejoining. She had lost connection. So wait for a minute till she joins. And meanwhile, let me talk about our sponsor partners, Signutra. Signutra is our official partner for hosting this webinar, and it offers a diverse portfolio of custom-made nutrition solutions, which aims to fulfill the gaps in nutrition that are left by disease, lifestyle, or at life stage. So their products are custom-made for each country, and for each country, in collaboration with the local dietitians, the products of Signutra are formulated. It complies with the local guidelines, and there is a lot of science behind these products, and they are adopted to habits. Their products are developed keeping in mind the customer habits, and they've adjusted their formulation so that the customers can continue to use just 2 scoops of the product like they normally do, while still getting the right dose to help meeting the nutrition gaps. So if Anuja ma'am has joined, she can continue. And I'm really thankful to Mr. Shashank for organizing this event today. Anuja, are you there? So till she joins in, let me talk more about the product. The Signutra has a diverse portfolio.
Can we, when we call the next participant, or not the participant, the panelist, then she can join us later.
Okay.
Because the day is long, so we should.
Right. Okay. So Amita ma'am, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. I can take it. I can take it forward.
Yeah.
All right. As per the chairperson.
Am I audible?
Yes, I will just introduce you and then we can move on. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
I can.
Okay. Ma'am, if you could introduce Amita ma'am.
Yes, I will. So I welcome Amita Singh, Senior Consultant Nutrition and Dietetics from National Hospital, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. She's a gold medalist who started her career in PGI Chandigarh in 1981 and started the first independent diet clinic in 1983. She has worked extensively in the community, in the interiors of the state with UNICEF, CARE, UNDP, World Bank, etc. She has written several books on nutrition for HelpAge India, Family Planning Association of India, and Women and Child Welfare Departments, Kota University, IGNOU, and she writes articles in newspapers, magazines, and gives talks on radio and TV. She's a panel member in Raj Bhavan, Sports Authority of India, Health Department of Government of Madhya Pradesh, and Women and Child Welfare Department and Department of Home for Central Jail, convener of Metrofan of FSSAI for Food Safety and Standards of India. I welcome Amita ma'am to speak on today's topic.
Ansi, can you share the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Just give me a minute. I will.
Anuja ma'am, we'll finish Amita ma'am and then take up, yes?
No problem.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can all hear you.
Okay, great. So, good afternoon, everybody. I must say, as you have gathered from my profile, I have been in the field now for almost 40 years. And this was something which I felt right from the beginning, that it is the use of locally available foods which are going to impact and help us address the various nutritional issues of the country. So I jumped at the idea when the organizers contacted me for this, because it was almost like a dream come true. I have been working with the state government, and time and again, I have been after their life to make a sort of a food atlas, food availability atlas of the state, because we belong to a very diverse state. May I have the next slide, please?
Ansi, put it on full screen mode, please.
Yeah. So when I thought about it as to how to handle it, I've got one eye on the clock, but I wanted to take it in a manner which could be a little more systematic. So I thought of the SWOT analysis, adding an extra S at the end, just to discuss with you, and there are such phenomenal people on board today to discuss with you the simple solutions which I used throughout my career while working with various organizations and creating protocols to handle the local situations and problems. The data which I'm projecting is from NFHS 5, as well as from the food consumption pattern of NFHS 4. And a lot of things which I'll be talking about are experiential. Since I'm a clinical dietitian and I work with patients and take histories on a daily basis, so there are a lot of things which I have gathered along the way. Next, please. So let's look at what are the strengths. I have been listening very carefully to everything we have been saying since the morning. Now, if India is diverse, well, Madhya Pradesh is the heart of India. And so probably that is the reason why we have such a diverse availability of foods. Now, everyone is a nutritionist here. I don't need to go into the details, but I'm sure each one of you can see that if a state has this kind of cereals, wheat, besides wheat, bajra, jowar, etc., which are so rich in nutrients, including micronutrients, if it has got such a wide variety of pulses, if it has got oil seeds, even the three which are, there are others, but these are the three which are more common and popular. You know about drumstick leaves, we know about the goat family. Let me share something with you. I went into the interiors of a village. This is one of the incidences next to a place called Shivpuri. Really a poor place. Not one single child was the weight they should be. But we did not come across anyone with vitamin A deficiency for the simple reason that the only vegetable they were growing was yellow pumpkin, which was used in various ways throughout the year. We have a huge variety of roots and tubers also, which we know can replace the cereal necessities. Fruits, there was a time when Madhya Pradesh was famous for the fact that every household had guava, papaya, mangoes, all these things. But currently, the situation is different. Milk has a problem. It is poorly available. But besides being poorly available, I must also tell you that it is poorly utilized. Even if it is available, it is not used adequately. Next, please. So what are the weaknesses we have? Through various ways in which I've gathered information, we follow Madhya Pradesh follows by and large a 2-meal pattern. Breakfast as such is missing across the state, except in certain pockets which are city-based and who have become conscious about it. Largely, the morning meal is a cup of tea with biscuits or toasts or rusks. So, what does that do? You will understand and appreciate that that takes away practically 1/3 of the nutrients which the individual should be getting. This has been highlighted for me innumerable times when I talk to adolescent girls, when I see the profile of the women. Also, there is because of poverty and the need and also because they are not aware of its importance, there is a very high amount of emphasis on selling the produce which is there available at home and then used to get cash instead of using it first in the house. The status of women across the world, or rather across India at least, I'm sure you are aware what it's all about, and that impacts. Let me tell you a little story. In one of the camps, a young woman who was the young ladies were being assessed, the adolescents, and one of the girls was in such a hurry, one could see she was uncomfortable. And Dr. Bumble, who's a very, very senior pediatrician of international repute, she and we were doing the assessment. So I just asked her, I said, why are you in such a hurry? It's only 11 o'clock in the morning. So she said, ma'am, I'm so hungry that I am not able to stand. So I asked her, don't you have food cooked in the house in the morning? She says, no, I'm the one who cooks the food. I have made tiffins for my father, my brothers, and everybody, but I just haven't had the time to eat. This is a story very common throughout our state. Westernization of diet. In certain, I was surprised, villages next to Chhatarpur, absolutely the interiors. You know what the young children asked us when we went for the workshops? With their hands out, they said, please give us chocolate and bread and toast. This has led, you can understand, the deficit in so many micronutrients. And there are innumerable myths and beliefs across the life cycle. Every stage has its own, which have to be followed, and it is a difficult, tough task to break these. Next, please. Okay, so this is our weakness. The food groups which are used by women. Why have I taken only of women? because they are the ones who impact to a large extent the family health. I don't need to talk about it. I'm sure all of you who have worked in the community are aware of it. But just look at it. Forget the milk for a minute. Look at the pulses. Only 43% of the women use pulses, even those which are grown in their own house. Green leafy vegetables. We have the drumstick leaves, one of the richest sources of so much. Yet they are not used. Fruits are a pathetic 5%, and even other vegetables just about 50%. Forget non-vegetarian. It is there in the house, but they don't use it. The use of non-vegetarian food is extremely low in Madhya Pradesh. Let me tell you a very interesting story about the milk part. I went for a camp with a team of doctors from the medical college. I do it quite regularly, and I take their classes also. So I go along. We started our survey in there, and towards the middle, a doctor referred a case of the Sarpanch sister who was a diabetic and said, "Ma'am, we have prescribed the medication. Please, could you just tell her about the dietary part?" After I finished with her, I talked to the lady who was with her, who I could see was pregnant. I asked her who she was, and she said that she was the Sarpanch's wife. I said, "You're pregnant. Have you had your checkups, your immunization?" She said, "Oh, yes, this is my third child. I am very well versed with that." I said, "Good. Do you eat adequately?" "Yes, I do." I said, "Do you take milk?" So she stopped short and she looked at me and she said, "No, I don't take milk." I said, "Why? You are the Sarpanch's wife. You must be having cow, buffalo in the house." She said, "Oh, I've got everything. I've got everything, but I don't drink milk." So I again asked her, "Why?" So she thought again and she said, "Swami peete hain na? The husband drinks, na?" I said, "True, very true. But there is no connection between the Swami having milk and your baby, which you are bringing up in your stomach." So she had no answer to that except, "Shock se nahi peeti." Just like that. So this is because they are unaware of what it can do. They get into, when they get married, they go into communities where they are told that we have brought up children with tea, etc. You don't need milk, etc. So these are the kind of stories which I have come up with. Also, regarding the pulse, a very interesting thing I must tell you. Madhya Pradesh is known as a soya bean state. Well, let me explain something. Most of the people who used to grow dals, they have started growing soya bean. They didn't know how to use soya bean. They ended up selling it, getting money, sometimes wasting the money. This is told to me by so many women. And they ended up with poor pulse availability. Next, please. Next, please. All right. So these are the threats we face. The last one, the previous slide, please. Yeah, these are the threats we face. I'm not going to talk about it, but what I found shocking was that even men have a BMI. I'm sorry, there's a typing mistake. BMI 28%. Men also have a BMI less than 18 in Madhya Pradesh. That is a sad statement. I'm not going to go into details due to the paucity of time of all these things. Next, please. So what are the opportunities we have? For the first time, we have got the Prime Minister who's brought nutrition into the center stage. What more do we want? Most nutritious local foods we already have. Every situation, so many speakers have highlighted so beautifully, and I'm sure others are going to do it. If we look at the traditional ways, let's be honest. How many times, except for the lockdown, do we open a recipe book to try new recipes? Why do we expect our local people to do so. Archana, I know, will be talking about it later, but let me tell you that 2 years back, I did work with her organization on how to improve the locally used foods. For example, poha or even simple lapsi, how to improve that by using pulverized groundnut, by using pulverized til, or the fruit and milk combination to improve the things, the cereal pulse combination in various things which they use, simple things like paratha, etc. Development of kitchen gardens, I have a very interesting story here. I grew up in a place called Nigeria, and there we had mango trees all across the country on the sides of the roads, which the mango trees were taken by an Indian family from India, and then they just propagated all over. It was everyone, nobody bought mangoes there. Everybody just ate them. This is how, in PGI, I recall doing a project with school children on this, and it was a very successful project. We are now we are tracking the SAM children, and we know that we need to create the awareness. Last, please. The last slide, please. Thank you. So, what is it that I consider as very simple solution? Anuja was supposed to speak before me. I'm sure she knows, because she works in an organization where she has both ends of the population, the very poor and the very rich, etc. I have found and handled not only cases, but also in the community, the pulse cereal combination, absolutely the best and acceptable. So simple, any pulse and any dal. And if you recall, Food and Nutrition Board had also used this. Roast the cereal, roast the pulse, pulverize them, mix the two, take half part of til or whatever oil seed is available, roast it, pulverize it, mix it, and your ready to use food is ready to be used as a halwa, as a lapsi for the child, for the elderly. So we have to push, and I have used it innumerable times. The only thing which I really took, it took a lot of effort when I worked with CARE, etc., was that I always believed, and I wanted to emphasize to them that quantify. To say that a child has eaten, excuse me, is eating is not enough. The child eats with the grandfather, with the mother, with the wife, and with the father, but you don't know how much has gone in, and then you wonder why the weight has not increased. After all, food is the first chemicals that we put into our body to build ourselves. So there has to be dosages, and we know they are there. IDA has established them, ICMR has established them.
You'll have to wrap up now.
Yeah, I am in the last slide, Vanisha, just ending. Cooking in iron vessels, bioavailability also is a factor, but using vitamin C sources with it. Green chutneys, encouraging green chutneys is something I found very effective, and growing crops in and around communities at every occasion of the family or the village, and increasing animal husbandry will improve, of course, the protein also. Vanisha, there is no time even to thank all of you, but I really want to thank all of you for a phenomenal effort and for involving me. Honestly, I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for a very, very insightful presentation, as usual. You were at your best, and I'm very sorry that because of paucity of time, we cannot hear you more from you. But as you said, this is just beginning. We are the Department of Foods and Nutrition is, I think, become very famous these days because of the n number of webinars that we are organizing, and we will have a special session with you shortly. And now let's move on to speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Be with us. There's so many questions to,
yes, of course,
to answer. So we now move on back to our dear Anuja. And I think Meenakshi ma'am has already introduced her. So Anuja, if you could share your screen.
Yeah, sure.
Begin your presentation.
Yeah, I'm just sharing.
A very, very efficient dietitian, pediatric dietitian, working in AIMS for over 30 years. And we are very proud of you, Anuja. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Vanisha, for giving me this opportunity. And today I am not talking about the, as Dr. Amita said, that, you know, I'm looking after so many patients who are rich and poor. The divide is really very wide, and definitely we have a lot of challenge there. But then I'm talking about something very new and which actually made me think and made me research, but it was really very interesting. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. So my topic for today is North Indian food culture from mythology to contemporary. And it is just means just tracking from the olden times how our food changed, and particularly in North Indian context. So as we all know, India has world's most diverse dietary cultures, and right from 4,500 BC, first cultivated. Can you hear?
Haven't vacated.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am. I think somebody had put their mics on. So it's
okay, fine. Sorry. So right from 4,500 BC, the first cultivated staple food which was grown was rice, and it was grown in the foothills of Himalayas. It was like cereals, pumpkins, lentils, limes, bananas, and coconut was also grown at the same time. People used turmeric in very olden time, at that time, ginger and tamarind as spices, along with sesame and mustard oil. Very drastic changes took place from early to modern India culture was Indus Valley civilization way back in 3000 BC. And from then on, we call it as a modern world, which has come in after Indus Valley civilization. It was this time that the fertile lands were exploited and exploited to produce wheat and barley. And wheat and barley was exchanged for silver and gold with the Middle East countries. So how the evolution of North Indian food took place? So it was written before 400 CE, that is the Common Era, which is sometimes called a Tamil Veda, discusses eating habits and its role in healthy life, which is called Manohar. It is a dedicated chapter, full dedicated chapter, from Rig Veda down to 500 BCE. Barley was the main staple grain food in Sanskrit literature. It is mentioned as life-giving yava. The food is called yava. This position over time has got lost. You know, the barley is not the main staple food grain of North India nowadays. This has been evolved from the days of Aryans, Mughals, and so many people who invaded India, came to India, had trade with India. They actually made a lot of difference in our food culture. So the Indian meals have been influenced by Portuguese, British, Persians, and then Indus Valley and Harappan civilizations happened. And they were mainly influenced by Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Mughal, and British rule in 19th and 20th centuries. So moving on to, agriculture by then had actually become the mainstay source of dietary staples. And barley, rice, and wheat were the main staples of the basic food grains. So our Indian culture is very diverse, as we all know, and meals and dishes have, the religion and culture. That flavor in the meals and dishes are given by our religion and culture and the hospitality. So the food is not just food or meals and dishes that we serve. It comes along with our rich religion, culture, and hospitality. Divided into 4 complementing regions. The North Indian is, as Amita ma'am is already focused a lot on Madhya Pradesh, and Kashmir will be focused on somebody else. We are influenced by Mughlai, Banarsi, UP will be focused on somebody else. So I'll be mainly focusing on Punjabi food. North Indian cuisines are belonging to India, so Punjab and Kashmir have a very rich tradition and culture of food. Most people follow in India a vegetarian lifestyle, except for Kashmir, where it is a lot of non-vegetarian food they eat. And we have features of exquisite dishes that we have. These aromatic and exotic dishes are now served across the globe. And furthermore, Indian cuisines play a very important role in projecting Indian culture and bridging the gap between this conservative country and the world. So so the Indian civilizations is thousands years old. We know the Hindu culture is very, very old, can be tracked back to thousands of years, and many influences and peoples have entered in our country over the years, modifying and enriching the cuisines. Ayurveda principles have long influenced the choice of taste and textures of our food. Recent days have been a revival of Indian so-called superfoods, many of which are traced their origins way back in an ancient period, which are already there in our civilization and particularly in our country. And now they have come back. We have taken a 360-degree turn to our superfoods, and thanks to COVID, where we are all talking about immunity and karas and sattus and all that. So that is what was, Ayurveda teaches us. That is what was given by Ayurveda in ancient period. So if we look at the North Indian food staples, barley basically came from Middle East 8,000 years back. It was a main staple, as I said, from Rig Veda down to 500 BCE. Forgotten in modern world, and now it's come back as a superfood. Wheat came from Middle East, early 20th century. 4 varieties of wheat has really persisted till now for so many years. And rice actually had been a staple for Kashmir because it was grown there first in the kind of land they have, and it dated back long as 10,000 BC, and it flowed out to European countries, later flowed out to South. Actually, first was grown in Kashmir. Ragi, jowar came from Africa, and then it was found in Deccan in 800 BCA, and jowar was found in Rajasthan. And masoor dal, which came from Turkey and Iran, is one of the oldest cultivated grains which came to India from there. And we have a rich variety of seeds and spices, that is rati or ganja, which is called. This is a basis of the systems of weight in Harappan civilization. What does that mean? It means that it was exchanged for something else, something like barter system. So these seeds were exchanged for something by weight. Masha beans, in other charts, it is also described Masha beans, and this picture is actually Masha beans. And this was also famously exchanged for a lot of things, except for precious stones and jewelry and etc. Mustard seeds actually came in Mauryan period. Turmeric was one thing which is native to India, and that's why such a hue and cry about making it patent in India. And ginger came from Southeast Asia. Onion and garlic came from Afghanistan. Now, fruits and vegetables, they came on their own, even as the man was in the Stone Age or Neolithic stage. He took animals to eat, but also fruits and vegetables were there in abundance. So they are described in the Vedic times, and they came on their own. But some of the fruits like date, bale, bear, they are the earliest fruits. Mango is very much native to India. Avla has this mention in Upanishads, and fig, jamun, coconut, banana, all these things are mentioned in Vedic corpus, Ramayana, and Buddhist corpus. Then lotus stem, lotus root, cucumber, bottle gourd, singharas, vegetables were first mentioned in Rig Veda. Yam, spinach, leafy veg. As I said, they were already there, and they are described in our old ancient, books. Spinach and leafy vegetables are described very well in Buddhist and Jain literature. And igudi was a prominent food in Valmiki Narayan, which is used in by Lord Rama for the Pintdan of his father, and that's how it became very famous. So what was the cooking practices then? Frying was done using, most of the time, the usual oils were sesame oil and mustard oil. The Vedas of yore cautioned against daily and excessive consumption of fried foods. I think since then we've been emphasizing on not to use too much of fried foods. Salt was a rarity. As I actually searched the literature, found that in olden days it was a monopoly under Mauryans and it was very, very expensive. So people hardly used salt. It was very expensive. Early spices and condiments, there were a whole lot of condiment and spices. Early epic period has mentions of coriander, cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, and all the whole lot of spices and condiments. In sweet foods, honey was the one which has a mention in Vedic times. Some North Indian cuisines and its importance. Now, we all know the wheat is a common staple and it is used to make rotis, parathas, naans, rice is famously used for biryanis and pulaus, especially in the Punjab and the Haryana state, and it's overlapping in UP and all that whole of North. Dals, main accessories, moong dal, urad dal, masoor, arhar. Arhar is also called tur dal. Dals have a high nutritional value, and they bring excellent texture and pleasure when they are mixed with other meals and cooked with other meals. So milk, ghee was actually yogurt and paneer, which made a good part of a diet. Cardamom spiked milk taken from sound and comfortable sleep. It was believed at that time dairy products were often, they were connected to purity and simplicity. So they were also, they have a mention in olden times. Until date, we consider them very nutritious and a food which should be a part of our daily diet. So biryani, we all know, I just had to mention these dishes which come from Punjab and mostly from Punjab, biryani and tandoori chicken, in the Indian version of grilled chicken, butter chicken, dal makhani, makke ki roti, sarson ka saag, which is very famous in rural Punjab, malai koftas and rogan josh, which is also of high nutritional value, which is famous in Punjab as well as in Kashmir. So then an era came where we actually started taking a lot of fast foods of India, and that is 2.5 decade where we actually insulted our system, our digestive system and ourselves, and then landed up with a whole lot of problems like diabetes, obesity, cardiac problems and all that. And that's why I say that we have come down 360 degrees now, and with COVID, all the more reason that people have started now looking at their Ayurvedas and something which will give us immunity, and stopped indulging into lots of fast foods which we have always insulted our bodies with. So well known for their deep fried and tangy taste. Kebab was one of the fast foods. This came in from Indian and Persian restaurants. It is famous to be served in those restaurants. Samosas, very famous in Indian culture. Chicken and paneer tikka, and something which was called gulalvania was tiny puffed up puri eaten both sweet and salted, which would be modern golgappas. Many of these foods were popularized and diversified during British Raj. Hayapuna is a modern ghevar, something like ghevar. It looked like hayapuna. It was called in British Raj. Then some sweets of North India. North Indian cuisine would not be complete without a sweet, as we know, mithai or delicacy after dinner or after lunch. Kheer, also known as payasam in Indian version of sweet rice pudding. Halwa is a sweet dish made of milk, sugar, and some cereal. Rabri is a Punjabi sweet, very famous and it has a mention in very old times. Jalebi, a dish, again, a very famous dish in North India. Gulab jamun is also a very dear dish, a sweet dish of all our North Indians, and very, very famous. Then the modern cosmopolitan India, we were really influenced by Chinese influence. They added a lot of vibrant colors and flavors in Indian culture. Malaysian and Singaporeans also influenced and shaping up Indian fast foods. Competing with the traditional tikkas and tandooris, there we had chicken lollipops, deep fried chickens made out of middle segment of the feather. Then chicken noodles, chili chickens served in streets of India, and momos. They became very famous, especially for the younger generations. Then what is the basic philosophy and practice behind food? Many ancient practices are only now being understood for the nutritional and health issues.
Anuja, you'll have to wrap up, please.
Yeah, just last few slides, last 1 or 2 slides. The Upanishads, like food connected to the concept of hospitality, is already said. Food was not merely eating, but a medicinal value. Charak says that without a proper diet, medicines are of no use. And we say today also, without a diet, medicines are of no use. And if you're taking a proper diet, medicines are not required. Introduce principles on practice of Ayurveda. And recent days, we have seen revival of Indian superfood. I've already said superfoods again coming. Very high nutritional density with few calories, high antioxidants, and full of minerals and vitamins. And that's what superfoods are all about. And Ayurveda brings the well-being of the body, mind, and spirit. Diet is a way of harmony. That's what Ayurveda says. And a balanced dietary regimen should include all 6 major tastes, according to Ayurveda school of thought. Arthashastra also describes a balanced meal for an adult man as 500 grams of rice or any staple cereal, 125 grams of dal, and 56 grams of oil. And this is the same as which is given in the recommended balanced diet of Indian Council of Medical Research. So what we eat, we are what we eat, and we have taken.
Chitra, please switch off your mic, Chitra.
So as a famous saying, what we eat, so it really goes by that. Ayurveda believes in that, and we have taken a complete turn towards the traditional foods, thanks to COVID and superfoods. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us this very, very informative insight about the history of Indian foods. And I'm sure there are so many questions. There are 500 questions right now in my things. And please stay back for the session. And now we move on to the next speaker. That is Archana ma'am. She'll be the last speaker of today. Let me share my screen. And I request our chairperson, Professor Meenakshi ma'am, to introduce the speaker.
It's my privilege to interact virtually with Archana today. I've had the very good privilege of asking a lot of things with her. So welcome Archana to this platform, our department platform. Dr. Archana Sarkar is an advisor in research, monitoring, evaluation, and advisor to GI India. She's worked largely in this part of Madhya Pradesh, where the country package in the food and nutrition security enhanced resilience project, which is global project funded by GIZ. FANS is a global flagship program under the German government special initiative One World, One Hunger, which addresses hunger and malnutrition together. She has a social behavior change experience in her research on adoption of good nutrition practices, analysis of barriers, and enablers for change, complementary feeding for young children in India, fortified yogurt for children in Bangladesh, and umbilical care practices of newborn in Tanzania. Prior to joining GIZ, she worked in Johns Hopkins School of Public Health for the nutrition projects in India, Bangladesh, and Tanzania. I'm sure because of her vast experience, we would be able to get very good insights on the anthropological aspects of the work that she's been doing under her leadership in GIZ. Welcome, Archana, and I request you to start your presentation.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks a lot. And I'm really pleased to, to get the privilege to speak in this platform. thanks a lot to Meenakshi ma'am and also Vanisha ma'am. And I'll just share my screen now. Wait, just video.
Yes, we can see it, Archana.
Yeah, in the presenter mode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, my presentation is actually on a global program, as Meenakshi ma'am rightly said, that it's a food and nutrition security and enhanced resilience. It's a global program running in 12 countries, and it's done by Ministry of it's German Development Ministry, and GIZ is also known as German Development Corporation. And yeah, we work almost in 130 countries around the world and in various topics, and food and nutrition is also a very important topic for us. And yes, and also as very much in today's topic, that promoting sustainable diets, and in the local areas, local populations, we are working in almost 9 African countries and 3 Asian countries, and to promote the dietary diversity for women and children, to improve nutrition situation in very difficult conditions in various parts of the world. Yeah, I'm also extremely pleased to see this amalgamation of nutrition and anthropology, because I am also a PhD in anthropology from Delhi University. Yeah, and also that's a real pleasure. And also I'm working in this area of public health, nutrition, anthropology, epidemiology. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here. And this is mainly in Madhya Pradesh. This presentation is on it's on Shiopur and Chhatarpur districts. And yeah, as I said, that it is actually trying to improve the food insecure people's nutrition situation. And we are almost so far covered 144,000 women and a lot of young children also, with various strategies to improve nutrition. And then we started in 2015, and now we are going to the funds. In short form, we call it funds. And yeah, it is going in Maharashtra also in some districts. And so so this is a kind of, we have finished the 5 years of it, and now we are going towards the next 5 years of this project. So yeah. And
Archana, is yours
hello,
full screen? Can you make it full screen?
oh, it is not. That's what I asked.
Yeah, it's full screen.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Is it full screen now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Ma'am, it was full screen earlier. Now I think.
No, ma'am, no.
You'll have to make it full screen now.
Yeah, is it full
perfect.
screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. It's full screen, no? Right, Meenakshi, Vanisha ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so it is in these 2 districts of Shiopur and Chhatarpur in the state of Madhya Pradesh. And yeah, just a bit on the data of it. This area, it's very remote, as also Amita ma'am said. And in Shiopur, we have 23.5% of scheduled tribes, mainly Saharia tribes, and it's a very remote, backward area, and with a lot of food crisis, remoteness, drought, and also it's a very rocky area. So yeah, it's and the food situation is really poor in this area, as you can see from the data. The stunting levels are really high, almost 50%, and in Shiopur, and 44% in Chhatarpur. And also you can see the BMI is also quite low for most of the women. Yeah, in this project, we're using a participatory learning and action approach, and through which we are trying to give nutrition education. And within this local food is a big component, as you will see when my presentation flows. And this PL is a community-driven, powerful tool to bring quality nutrition education through community mobilization and behavior change for improving dietary diversity among the women of reproductive age and young children, and to adopt good nutritional practices. The Anganwadi workers are trained through a cycle of 20 meetings on different topics such as undernutrition, dietary diversity, nutritional value of locally available food produce, hygiene, etc. Further, these trained Anganwadi workers then facilitate this 20 meeting cycle using different tools to promote the women's engagement, such as through pictorial games, as you can see in the picture, through power walks, through storytelling, through discussions, and through various methods to to improve nutrition, how to nutritionally enrich their local food, how to enrich their cuisines, their recipes. The food group concept of the 10 food groups concept are much reinforced in this approach. And as you can see that almost in a group of 25 to 30 women are they take these trainings, and we also have a kind of a tracking to see this the women are continuing in these meetings for at least the 20 cycle meetings. And then it's a to gain their knowledge and to improve their practices. And then we also did a social behavioral kind of a research to understand if the knowledge is actually translating into practice or what are the barriers for this. So PLA is like an overall kind of an umbrella tool to improve the nutrition education and community action to overcome undernutrition among women and children in this group. And uh, so this is just a kind of a very short overview of the PLA meetings. There are 4 phases, and each phase has a number of meetings, and where the women are taught how to identify a malnutrition, how to get sensitized to it, how to prioritize undernutrition, which is never prioritized, in a village level, and then how to in a participatory manner how to find solutions and strategies, and how to kind of understand the causes and how to develop strategies to deal with the nutrition at the community level, at the household level, and also to implement them actually, to use them. Like kitchen garden is kind of promoted, use of complementary feeding as per the IVCF practices, and also the recipe demonstration and the safe handling of food, how to use different recipes, as I'll come later in my presentation, and also the hygiene practices. And then also enriching the local diets, because what we are seeing that these are very remote areas, poor people with a lot of tribals are there who have their own traditional know-how, traditional food habits. So how to best use within the local resources, and how to make it more nutritious, more sustainable, and more resilient even in the difficult conditions of drought, and which they face quite repeatedly, a food crisis. And then the reinforcement thing, that which actually is the main thing in a behavioral change, that how to reinforce the learning so that it goes into the people's habit and in the practice. And now the local food promotion is a very big component in this PLA approach, or the participatory learning approach. As you can see, some of our activities that, the Anganwadi worker is showing a food cooking demonstration where she's showing the local food, how to enrich it with different things like moringa leaves, chia seeds, how to use the local grains, which are, this, as Mamita ma'am said, that, pearl millets and all these grains are available quite traditionally there, and also a lot of vegetables which are quite traditional and quite rich in nutrients, and which had kind of lost over time due to urbanization and many things, due to food crisis. This project is trying to revive that people start using them, valuing these local resources, and also use it in a very interesting manner, so that they want to use it, they like to use it. And then we also had these food exhibitions by these women, where they would bring different food groups and cooked food, so that they get the concept of food groups, how to include food groups from the 10 different foods, like the pulses, the milk products, the vitamin A rich vegetables, the fruits, everything, milk, and all these things. So these are some of the way we are actually trying to promote the local foods, and also identify the local foods, so that they know what are the local foods of value in their community. And as you can see, the moringa leaves is a case. Moringa is like moringa leaves are not, when they would not eat it earlier much because of its bitter taste. And then we use that different kinds of recipes through which they can use moringa's leaves as a supplement, and with these recipes they would not feel that bitter taste, so that they can start using it, or eating it, consuming it in their diet. And we have been doing this in last 2-3 years, that promoting a lot of this so-called superfood in their local diets, the various ways to incorporate it naturally in their diet. Yes, these are some of the rich variety of foods that are currently available, and as you all know, like these are of herbs and of various values, nutritional values like ashwagandha, white muesli, gawar, wild tulsi, and the different kinds of ber, and that's Indian jujube, and then the mahua is very common, which is also known as a madhuka, as in the English name. Indian gooseberry, amla is quite locally available, but how to use them, sometimes they would just not use them, it would just be wasted or be fed to, sometimes it will be sold or maybe fed to animals. So now we are trying to see that, okay, these are of various importance to you, these are not that expensive in your area, and you can improve your nutrition. So how to do this in a very interesting, sustainable, and in a manner that it stays in the area, and also it is being taken up by the government also. And some of these like PLA is now being taken up by the government, and in the Mangal Divas they are doing these PLA sessions very regularly in these two districts. And also a lot of local nutritious cuisines we tried to promote, like the drumstick curry, which were there but not very much used, because with time all these traditional recipes got lost. And also we tried to kind of enhance them nutritionally, how to give them the ideas to easily enhance them, and all these things like groundnut chutney, sesame candy, which are all quite high in nutrition and also can be done easily, not with a lot of cost. Yeah, then this nutri-mix that we actually promoted in one of in our project area also came out to be quite handy during this COVID times, when they distributed this nutri-mix to the a lot of returning migrant families, where they would make it locally by roasting the commonly available wheat, green gram, and groundnuts, and then so they would kind of prepare it at the village level. And this is still being used now. Also we are doing a COVID response project where we are trying to address the returning migrant families in Chhatarpur and Shiopur, and trying to help them in COVID awareness, and also the nutrition component, like giving them some nutrition rich, helping them in supporting in nutrition rich foods. And also this is also one of the way we are trying to help them in improving the nutrition status. And this can be used with various food products for women and children. And then the local food preservation techniques, so we have also kind of trained them so that they can also use their local produce like amla and all in their in the lean seasons, especially because resilience is a part of our project, and where we are trying to build that when it's actually food availability in all times, including the difficult times like COVID, like drought, and all these things. So this project is also focusing not only on improving the dietary diversity, but it's also improving at all times, like even in the crisis time. So this is an example where we are trying to empower women for the crisis times. This is just an example of Indian gooseberry. We used a lot of other things also. Yes, this is a recipe booklet, and this was our idea with the DWCD, Department of Women and Child Development in Madhya Pradesh, that we develop a nutritious local cuisine, basically from Madhya Pradesh, and it came from Chhatarpur and Shiopur with our NGOs, and also, but then we thought that we will do it for the entire state. And also Amita ma'am helped us in this effort, as she told us in her presentation. And here we tried to have a some interesting recipes for children, for pregnant women, for for lactating women, for adolescent girls. And also we did it in Hindi and English also. And we tried to use the local recipes, and we tried to kind of nutritionally enrich them, how they can nutritionally enrich their local recipes. It was quite an interesting booklet. And it is also available in e-form also, like and I mean, if you want, we can also share it. And it was distributed to all the supervisors and Anganwadi workers in Shiopur and Chhatarpur districts, so that they can use it when they do their PLA sessions. And this was all on the local recipes. We had the nutritious foods, and we also gave the nutrition information, as you can see, the ingredients. And it was done in a very fun, on very attractive mode. It was also in English as well as Hindi. Both the versions were there. And as you can see, the 3 life stages were covered: adolescent girls, children under 6 years of age, and pregnant and lactating women, who are the target groups of funds project. And then we had this video. Yeah, so we also developed a lot of videos, like at least 12 videos on different life stages using different recipes, how to nutritionally enrich these recipes in a very nice video, so that you can see them, and these mothers could actually follow them. And these were played in different PLA meetings, and also in different DWCD meetings, and this was quite well taken by DWCD and also by the local people. And I will just if it works well, just a minute. um, uh, is the audio hello?
We can't hear the audio, ma'am.
You can't hear the audio?
Ma'am, if you could wrap up fast, please.
Yeah, so so these videos are already there, and I mean the links are there, and you can also so maybe I leave the video playing because of the time paucity, but these links are already active, so you can always play them. And then we also did this kind of an impact evaluation on this, where we say, as you know, the minimum dietary diversity score is a very good indicator by FAO, and this is coming up, this indicator, how to measure this, what are they eating in the last 24 hours through a dietary diversity score. And with a comparison of baseline and midline, we saw that with these approaches there was a significant improvement. Yeah, so these are like how you take like what are the food groups they consumed in the last 24 hours, and then this was quite promising for us. And then also the MAD, which is a minimum acceptable diet for children, which is a kind of a global indicator of minimal meal frequency, and also the minimal dietary diversity of children in this age group. This also showed little improvement in the midline, but also we have just done another survey, follow-up survey. We will have those results, and also the funds is going to the next phase, where we are having more districts in Madhya Pradesh, 4 districts in Madhya Pradesh, and 2 more districts in Maharashtra to continue, and also to add on to this work, like on community gardens, to enhance the local food availability for the poor population. Yeah, that's all for this presentation. This is our Twitter channel. You will see a lot on our global program from here. Yeah, and that's all. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am, for that very, very insightful presentation. I had in my theme spoken about food systems, and your presentation basically focused on farm to fork, and the PLA, that is the participatory action, the learning process by participation of the community, is a very, very good example. And I hope all our listeners will take home that message of how you can actually improve the food and nutritional status, improve the dietary diversity, and improve the minimum acceptable diets of the children by using local and regional foods.
Yeah.
All our panel members to please switch on their videos, because there are so many questions. And the first question, I will start with Archana ma'am, because your video is on, is can you give us more insights on how participatory learning approach can be used by the dietetics students in the hospitals?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a very good idea actually. Although this, we have a lot of tools actually, like a lot of picture cards, a lot of, videos. And so this is the way, like in dietetics also, I mean, you can use it like how to give this information in a natural manner, so that people, because we all know that knowledge is not equal to practice. We all know this, that improving knowledge does not mean people are actually adopting it. So there has to be a little way of giving information a different way, like how to make it more enticing for them, so that you can have these regular sessions with the with your maybe with your clients, with your patients, or maybe with your students, so that they actually adopt adopt these various tools of participatory learning. PL is an approach. It is not, it can be used for anything, for nutrition, for dietetics, for village women, for health. Yeah, it has been used for many approaches.
Thank you, ma'am. And I would continue the same question to Amita, ma'am, who has immense clinical as well as field experience.
Yeah, so it's like this, Vanisha. I have a joke with the the IAS officers when I go for meetings at this thing. I always say that if you spend a fraction of what you are spending on feeding from outside to the community, on getting professionals posted, our qualified girls posted at the local level. We tell them what we want to want them to teach the community. By now, you would have probably halved or reduced the malnutrition very dramatically. I did that also with a Plan International study, which I did in 4 states of India, where we found the best response was by the participatory approach. Also, even in clinical work, it is only when you involve the patient or the family into using your knowledge to improve their output that you get good results. This is my experience. So for sure, those systems have to be there. They should be taught to the students. They must learn how to incorporate these steps into their counseling.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. And the next question is directed to Shubhda ma'am, who gave us a very good insights on why the curriculum of dietetics as well as nutrition should have food anthropology in it. And continuing to that is, why is sociology not being offered to nutritionists, because it is often to the engineering students also? Shubhda ma'am.
Thanks for the question, Vanisha. Why is sociology not being offered, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a good question, and we should consider it. However, when it comes to curriculum planning and academic planning, there is always a sense of healthy competition between various courses. Because whenever you introduce a new course, something else has to be either removed or diminished in terms of the credits offered. I mean, these are all practical issues. So I think let us prioritize. Everything is important. A lot of courses are important. And by not having a course in the curriculum doesn't mean it's not important. But I think we have to prioritize and at least let nutritional anthropology first get its due place in nutrition curriculum before we can think of adding even more. And secondly, sociology can very easily be integrated in anthropology courses because there's a lot of similarities between them. So I'm sure we can have some units to do with sociology and anthropology courses.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, can I just say a comment? Can I just
Sure,
1
sure.
minute comment?
Yes.
When I did my first the graduation and the post-graduation, at the graduation level, we had a paper on economics. We science students just couldn't understand what were we doing with economics. We had a paper on sociology. We had at the undergrad level also a paper on psychology, which went on to a fuller this. Today, I know why I studied that. Today, I realize the importance of it. So probably one single paper at the undergrad level. Shubhda ma'am is just the right person. That's why I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. Anuja, the next question is directed to you. Thank you so much for taking us to the journey of history from Ayurveda to the current concepts. The question is so important. Why are we not incorporating that in our food and nutrition textbooks today in dietetics?
Yeah, you're asking me because I think already there's so much to do in home science. If you ask me, I just feel that nutrition as such per se should be a 4-year course, which should be a professional course. Frankly, there's so much to do in nutrition. 3 years home science when they do, and the first year goes and a lot of other different subjects which are overlapping, and then they decide in second year or third year the elective as nutrition. It is wasting a lot of time. Now nutrition has become, I'm not saying what we have done was bad. I think we are learning now. Nutrition is on the forefront. Why don't we just make 3 years or 4 years just for nutrition, which will train them better and in a professional way, So
thank you.
Very important to just focus on public health, clinical, all aspects.
Thank you so much.
Now we used to do facility, but integration of facility and community is so very important. When the child goes back to the community, then we are totally lost. So all that integration has to happen. I think.
Thank you so much. And we have many more questions, but because of paucity of time, we will not be able to take them. I now request our chairperson, Professor Meenakshi Mehan ma'am, to summarize the session and give her comments before we close session number 1.
Thank you very much to all the panelists for really giving us insights on the various aspects of nutrition, anthropology, cuisines, and the diets. You know, the variety that we have always been talking of locally available foods and consumption of that. Shubda, I really appreciate, and I know how passionate you are. A teacher will always remain a teacher, though you are an administrator now. So your concept of how it has to be integrated into academics and how we can blend for both, both the specialization areas is very, very important that you talked about. And I think we should look at it, because anthropology is not a public health nutrition aspect only. It has to be also into the dietetics practice.
Yes.
Similarly, the Meenal Dal ma'am, she also talked about mainly about food availability and the kind of work they had done in areas, and what she actually emphasized was that we should look at uh, I don't actually remember, but I think what she emphasized more was on the diversity that we have to look at and try to incorporate in our diets and in a traditional manner. Then Miss Amita Singh, this was very, very enlightening, informative for me, because I don't know much about Madhya Pradesh. So I, could understand a lot of traditional things and patterns of dietary patterns of Madhya Pradesh, and see how they affect their nutritional status, and how over the time, those practices have been changing. I was, uh, little perplexed by the food groups that you had shown, and how much less percentage, less than 50% of the pulses, which are required are consumed in MP, which we know is a malnutrition bowl of India. So probably we know now the connect between, why it is a malnutrition bowl of India. Anuja, you talked about North Indian cuisines, and me being a North Indian, I was more attracted to all the food that I was hungry. But we have to also look at from this point of view that when these traditional diets were planned or made traditionally, we were doing a lot of physical activity as well.
Yes,
So
yes.
if we are looking at these foods now, it shocks us, but
Yeah.
but these are traditional foods which probably were not eaten very regularly, but have become very, very popular, and now children just use that and forget the traditional part of it. So we'll have to understand the tradition in the context of newer information
Yeah.
that we have now, in terms of what we really need to do in terms of improving a healthy diet. So as I said early in my opening remarks, that every state of the country has traditional foods which I feel can make for a very healthy diet. But what is happening is, over these nutrition transitions, rural people want to emulate urbans. Urbans want to emulate Western world.
Western.
So what is
Western.
happening is that we are
Yes.
all, moving, we think we have progressed a lot in life. And that is the reason we should be eating more of city food. Rural, it's for them a great thing to go and eat in a McDonald's. For them, it is like we have achieved something in life.
Can you
And same way,
believe it, Dr. Meenakshi? One of the low socioeconomic level mother asked me while I was counseling, can I start giving my child a little bit of Coke from now? I said, can you believe it? I said, why do you want to give Coke of all things? He'll get used to it. I mean, they think that this is the right kind of a food. They don't even realize that this is wrong. So much advertised. So this is the level.
So next, Archana. I know I have actually very closely know the kind of work that you have doing, and the work on dietary diversity, food groups that you have done at the community level. And I really appreciate that, because it is very, very important that we understand. And I really feel the problem is, the problem of link between stomach and, nutrition. They only eat to feed their stomachs. They don't eat to get nutrition. The moment we are able to educate that part of it, that, this will give you this, not in terms of vitamins or minerals, but in terms of food groups and the variety, I think we can make a lot of difference. And that is a very, very important aspect that we have to keep in mind. I was also very happy, as all international organizations, that they come out with newer things which are needed at that point of time in the country. So COVID response and COVID awareness and all those things are something that I really appreciate. Did we have anybody else?
No.
No, ma'am. You covered everyone.
So over to you, Vanisha. You can take over the question sessions.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. With this, we wrap up our first session. And I'm sure all the participants have had great insights. So my thanks to Professor Shubda ma'am, Dr. Meenal, Anuja ma'am, Amita ma'am, and Dr. Archana Sarkar for having with us. Now over to Poonam for taking on the second scientific session. Poonam, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.